Hello and welcome to the Coming Down to Earth with Spirit podcast with me, your host, David Hale. In the podcast, we'll be talking about mediumship and all things spiritual in a down-to-earth and honest kind of way, with a touch of humour also. So I hope you can join me on my podcast journey so you can learn from my own spiritual journey and experiences with spirit in the aim to help you on your own spiritual journey, or it may just be to answer any of those questions that you have about the spiritual world. So join me now as we get into this episode. Hello everyone and welcome to another listener questions episode. I hope you are all well and thank you all for the questions that are coming in. Now this is going to be quite an interesting episode, I think, because the topic is quite interesting, and it comes from a question which Cheryl has asked. And Cheryl asked, are there different levels in the spirit world? Do I believe in them, and have I ever been told about different levels in the spirit world? And when I first started developing, it's a question that I kind of asked myself as well. And I happened to find an answer from a book that I read, which took me about a year to read, because it's about 500 pages long. And I haven't got time or the attention span to sit and read a 500-page book in a week. So it took me a while to read it. And it's called The Spirits Book by Allan Kardec. Now, just to give a brief history on that without going to a history lesson here. Now, Allan Kardec is actually the pen name of a French educator, translator and author from France. Obviously from France, he's French. And his name was Hippolyte Léon Denisard Reveil. And he was the author of 5 books known as the Spiritist Codification and the founder of Spiritism. Not spiritualism, but Spiritism. And the Spirits Book was published in 1857. So we're going way back here. But it's around the time that the Fox sisters in Hydesville, New York, started communicating with spirit, and they're famous for their, the rapping and the tapping and the knocking and all that business, which is where spiritualism comes from today. And this Spirits Book, what it's about, so basically this man, Hippolyte, who was given Allan Kardec from spirits and was suggested that he use that pen name, he originally was a skeptic, but he was shown evidence from other mediums that spirit can communicate through people known as mediums. And so he did a variety of interviews with mediums whilst they were connecting to spirit. Sometimes it might have been in a bit of a trance state, and asked spirits a load of questions, which is why the book is 500 pages long, because there are God knows how many questions in this book, which he asked spirits through the mediums. And one of those questions was about the levels in the spirit world. And so I'm just going to tell you briefly what was said about these levels. So through these mediums, he was told that there were 3 orders within the spirit world, or levels or tiers, whatever you want to call them, but they were worded as 3 orders. The first order are where the pure spirits reside. So you could call them angels, archangels, those kind of things. The second order, where those that have reached the middle of the scale, whose main concern is the desire to do good. So that's why I would put your family and friends. And then you have the third order, which is towards the bottom of the scale, and these are where the imperfect spirits reside. They are characterized by ignorance, the desire to do wrongfulness, and passions which delay their advancement, which is a whole other story, right? And then within each of those orders, they are divided into different principal groups, as he called them. So within the first order, there's just one principal group. You are a pure spirit and that's it. Within the second order, he was told that there are 4 principal groups, so 2 to 5. And then in the third order, there are 5 principal groups, so from 6 to 10. I'm not going to go into what they mean and everything. It just give you an idea of what he was told through these mediums by spirits. So when you actually, if you do your reading on it and do your research, as you read the book, you'll find out for yourself what each order means. But it's kind of cemented, or it kind of backed up what my feelings on the levels in spirit are, because we know that on this planet there are good and there are evil, right? There are some really fabulous, lovely people, and there are some really bloody, horrible, wicked, evil people, right? And we know that. So keeping that in mind, we then have to consider, okay, when we go to spirit then, does that mean that both the good and the evil we're all going to mix with each other? We're all going to cross each other's paths in the spirit world? Now, I don't believe that to be true. I believe that, yes, we all go to spirit, whether you're good or bad, whether you like it or not, those evil people are still going to go to the spirit world. That's my belief, because I don't believe in the concept of heaven and hell, all right? Now, I heard that as a kid because I was raised Catholic. I wasn't raised into a spiritualist family. I was raised Catholic, a Roman Catholic, where I was told heaven is for the good people and hell is for the bad people. So you better behave yourself, otherwise you're going to go downstairs to the devil, basically, right? Going to a Catholic school and all that. And I don't believe in that concept. I don't believe hell exists. That's just my perspective on it. However, if you think of it from a spiritualist point of view, from my own point, I'm not going to speak for all spiritualists here, but from my point of view, the lower levels, as we've just discussed, is basically what the Catholics call hell. Because there's so much out there of what you're talking about that doesn't exist, but heaven and hell exist. And you think, well, what do you think I'm talking about then? You're calling it heaven. What do you think I'm talking about? It's the same place. We're just using a different language. So, although, religion might seem divided, and I'm not particularly a religious person, we're all kind of talking about the same thing. So for me, when we go to spirit, you will go to the level that your soul resonates with at that particular time. So if you are a good person, right, you're going to go to, let's say, the second order, where the rest of your family members will be, right, because you're good people. But if you are someone like, I always use this term, it was this man, because it was not this man, well, I'm assuming it's a man, Jack the Ripper, right? Him, I don't know, who else? Jeffrey Dahmer, other serial killers that we've got. They're not going to go to the second order with your family members because their souls resonate on a different level. Those evil people have no good intent. So why would they go to the second level with your family members who have a good intent? No, they're going to go to a different level, the lower orders, as I would say, right downstairs, right in the basement. Whereas those pure spirits, those people that have evolved to a certain level, to a certain advancement, where they're free from all the things that we've got to deal with physically, all those, imperfections, they will be in the first order. And so that's just, for me, that just makes logical sense. Now, people might have different opinions, which is fine. If you think about it from that point of view, there must be different orders because, we didn't mix with evil people in life. Well, I hope we didn't anyway, unless you're evil yourself. So why would we do that when we get to the other side, if that makes sense? And just referring back to a part of Cheryl's question, which was, have I been told? I wouldn't necessarily say I've been told by spirits, but I felt it. So there has been maybe a couple of occasions where someone's communicated with me from spirit, and I can't really explain it, but I've just felt the energy was very different. It wasn't like they were communicating from the level that our family and friends would be on. It just felt like they were slightly higher. And it's a really odd thing to say because I can't give I can't put a word on it to what it felt like. It just felt different. The energy felt different, and I knew, and I wasn't being contradicted either by spirit, but I knew that they were on a slightly higher level than what we would expect for someone's family member, if that makes any sense. What I'm saying, but I can't put a word on it or a feeling on it. The energy just felt different. And I've communicated with a lot of spirit people, right? Your family and your friends. A lot of you listening, I've communicated with your family and friends. And I know, and I know what it feels like when they come through, right? Because the majority of the 90% of the time, they feel they're on that level, right? Wherever that feeling is. But it's only been like there's certain occasions where someone has come through and they've felt elevated, and it's not their personality or character that they're giving me. It's just their energy it feels different. I can't really explain it. And so that's just my personal experience. So because I've experienced that, I can't deny that there are different levels, but it's one of those things that we can't necessarily prove. We might be told it by spirit, we might feel it from spirit, but it's not necessarily something that we can 100% say, yes, there is. But again, if you come back to logical thinking, and not in a scientific way, but in a spirit way, there must be a differentiation between the good and the evil that's done on this planet, right? We can't all be mixed in together up there in the spirit world. I don't believe that can happen. I believe that the evil people can atone for what they did in spirit if they want to advance up the levels, and that's also mentioned in that book as well. But I don't believe that we'll go to the same level in spirit. I think it's like multi-dimensional, but like this planet is multi-dimensional whether we believe it or not. So that is just my perspective on it, Cheryl, and for anyone else that's listening. I've had that question a couple of times because I think it's a lot of people need that rationalization between good and evil, because let's say a family have unfortunately lost a family member to a murder, shall we say. Let's say someone's murdered them, God forbid. People need to be able to rationalize in their head, okay, what happens to that murderer when they pass over? What happens to them if, let's say, the murderer also killed himself at the same time? Does my family member and the murderer go to the same place? So people in their head need to rationalize that differentiation and say, okay, so the evil person's going to go down there and my loved one's going to go over there. And I think that makes sense. I do think that makes sense, but that is just my very quick explanation and opinion on that, Cheryl. So I hope that helps. Again, thank you for the questions. Have a lovely day, and I'll speak to you all soon. Well, that's it for today's listener question episode. If you have any questions that you'd like me to answer based on the spiritual world or mediumship, then please do email me at davidhmedium@outlook.com. You can email me as many questions as you like. I'll add them to the list and I'll get to them as quick as I can. But until then, thanks for listening, look after yourselves, have a lovely day, and I'll speak to you all soon.